Let's go. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. Happy Friday. Welcome. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone watching on Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome, guys, and happy 4th of July weekend. What's up? Let's do the thing. Let's get the barbecue going. I'm excited. And my sister's cooking this time. So I think this is the first time that I'm not the one cooking. I'm usually cooking for 4th of July. But this time, my, what do you call it? My sister has volunteered to cook. So that was a big surprise to me. So, all right. It's going to feel weird not having to do something. All right. Want to give quick shout outs to people in the chat. Shout out to Lawrence Johnson, who's a Sabby member, says doobie-doobie-doo door 2024. Greetings, Joe OWS. Matt Taibbi was born in the wrong era. He is a beatnik gonzo journalist, perhaps last one left. I am down with all things gonzo. Yeah, that's going to be a good story tonight, you guys. Shout out to Diane. Hello, Sabby. I'm so glad to be back listening to your wisdom. I was recovering from very serious medical issues. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Diane, but welcome back. Welcome. Shout out to Daryl London, who just became a Sabby member. Can he get a whoop, whoop? Whoop, whoop. Thank you so much. Shout out to AJF, says, God, I wish Black people wise up and abandon the Democrats at least for one damn presidential cycle. People, you are not obligated to vote or vote independents and third party at least. LOL. I agree with you, AJF. Dim exit. Shout out to JB Font, my comrade at RBN. Hello, all. DeSantis is an anti-free speech authoritarian. It's hard to take Rogan seriously, even if he's pro-free speech. Oh, I can't wait to get into that story tonight. Shout out to Madeline, says, barf, Ron DeSantis, anyone looks good right now. It's like, you guys ever heard of beer goggles? It's like that right now. That like, you know, it looks good after you've had a couple of drinks, but when you sober up, you realize it doesn't look so good. That's what we're feeling right now. Shout out to Among Friends, Rogan backs DeSantis. That's a fool backing an insane clown posse member. Oh, God, Insane Clown Posse. You guys remember them? Oh, boy. Shout out to Angela, says hello to all and happy Friday. Greetings, Frank, says hello, hello. Greetings, The Traveler, says happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, too. Shout out to Where a Pilgrim, says, hey, everybody. Greetings, Hannah G, says Sabby. Hannah. Shout out to Kai McDougal. Haha. How you going, Sabby? Ain't hanging around, but I always liked you. I don't know. You strike me as real. Thank you so much. I hear that from a lot of people, actually. Yeah, my dad always said, she tells it like it is. That was before I had a show. So shout out to Brent. Let's grab a beer, get ready for Sabby, and close this week out. Whoop, whoop. Greetings, Octa/08. Holy cow, I made it for once. Welcome. Shout out to Gamer, says hello. Greetings, Roman Smith, says happy Friday. I like what you did there. Shout out to Optimism of the Will. Great way to head into a 3-day weekend. Woohoo! Shout out to MJ Anti-Imperialist Party. Sup, all. Shout out to LA comedians Door/DoorDad24. That was funny. You guys said that guy looks like Jimmy Dore's dad. That was funny. Shout out to Eric T. Red, who's a Sabby member, says happy long weekend, all. Shout out to Jonathan, says, hey, Sabby, peace and love, everyone. That's right. Peace and love. Greetings, Sylvia, says, hey, y'all. What's going on, Eric? Who's so? Never Democrats, never Republicans. That would be a cool t-shirt, actually. What's going on, Moused? Don't hurt your thumb poking the like button. That's right, guys. Go ahead and hit that like button. That helps me out with the algorithm. And shout out to She's Black, says yes. Maybe she doesn't say it like that. All right, guys. What are we talking about tonight? First, let me go ahead and give a big shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate your support. If you want to become a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabby, Sabsters, Sabinators, and Ultimate. All of their names are listed here. Thank you guys so much. It really does go a long way. I've got to pay for a lot of stuff. I'm not even kidding. Everything I use for the show is I have to pay for it, believe it or not. All right. Let's get into tonight's discussion. This should be a good one. Oh, and by the way, really quick before I forget, guys, Stranger Things Part 2 just came out today. I already started watching it. Definitely check it out. I will say, out of all the seasons I've seen of Stranger Things, I still think the first season was the best one. Change my mind. All right, guys. What are we talking about tonight? Let's get into it. Tonight, I'm discussing Joe Rogan backs Ron DeSantis. Yes, you heard that right. Joe Rogan is endorsing Ron DeSantis. I'm sorry, but it's happening. I'm also going to discuss Matt Taibbi's Second Amendment. That is a good story. Can't wait to get into that. And last but not least, I'm going to discuss Joe Biden is rejected. Rejected. Oh, we got a lot to discuss. Let's go ahead and get started with Joe Biden being rejected. So recently, Joe Biden was questioned about the gas prices. And when are those gas prices going to decrease? I don't think you're going to like what Joe had to say. But because it's the news and I feel you need to know about this, I'm going to have to share this with you, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to play the video. I was going to read the article, but let's just go into the video. Here we go.
And my second question is on your trip to Saudi Arabia, which is coming up next month. As we just discussed, Americans are paying almost $5 a gallon nationally on average for gas. So do you expect to ask the Crown Prince or the King to increase oil production? And if so, how will you balance that with your desire to hold them accountable for their human rights abuses?
Well, first of all, that's not the.
That was a double whammy there. That was a double whammy. I like what he did there. He snuck in the human rights abuses part too.
Purpose of the trip. The purpose of the trip, first of all, I'm starting off on that trip in Israel. And the Israelis believe it's really important that I make the trip. In addition to that, what we're trying to do is the Gulf state.
I'm just going to chime in here and say this is already not starting out well. This is pretty bad. Joe Biden just told you that's not the purpose of the trip. He seems like he's having a difficult time answering this question as well.
States plus 3. And so I'm sure that it's in Saudi Arabia, but it's not about Saudi Arabia. It's in Saudi Arabia. And so there's no commitment that is being made, or I'm not even sure. I guess I will see the king and the crown prince, but that's not the meeting I'm going to. They'll be part of a much larger meeting. And what we're talking about in dealing with that trip is that before I go, I'm, as I said, going to Israel to meet with the Israeli leaders to affirm the unbreakable bond Israel and the United States have.
Did he ask him anything about Israel? No, he did not. He specifically is asking him about Saudi Arabia. This is Joe Biden going on a tangent to avoid answering that question.
And part of the purpose is the trip to the Middle East is to deepen Israel's integration into the region, which I think we're going to be able to do, and which is a good for peace and good for Israeli security. And that's why Israel leaders have come out so strongly for my going to Saudi. But the overall piece here is we're also going to try to reduce the deaths and the war that's occurring. I mean, there's a whole range of things that go well beyond anything having to do with Saudi in particular.
Him and Kamala Harris are not good at answering questions. He didn't ask you anything about Israel. He was asking you specifically about those gas prices. And he's asking you, are you going to hold them accountable for crimes against humanity? That's it. Not sure how Israel got into this equation. Not sure. Again, one of them was a yes or no question. And the other one, he's asking, like, are the gas prices going to go down anytime soon? What is the plan?
But if you were to see the crown prince or the king, would you ask them to increase oil production?
No, I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask. All the Gulf states are meeting. I've indicated to them that I thought they should be increasing oil production generically, not to the Saudis particularly. And I think I hope we see them in their own interest concluding that makes sense to do. And, they have real concerns about what's going on in Iran and other places in terms of their security as well, all of them.
Okay, so let me come out of here. I'm stuck in here.
Sustainability is...
I don't know how that happened. That was weird. Okay, here we go. All right, so Joe Biden, again, was asking, are the gas prices going to go down? Joe Biden's response, not anytime soon. Do not expect the gas prices to go down anytime soon. How many of you out there right now are struggling to pay for gas? I know I am. I put $10 in recently. It's already gone. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. Now, let's go into this here. Again, as long as it takes, he said. We'll have to stomach high gas prices as long as it takes to beat back Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. I want to remind all of you that the gas prices had already started to increase before they invaded Ukraine. There's more. Listen to him blame Russia for all of it. All of it. Listen to this.
If we do these things, it's estimated we could bring down tomorrow, if Congress agreed and the states agreed, we could bring down the price of oil about $1 a gallon at the pump, in that range. And so we could have immediate relief in terms of the reduction of the elimination of temporary elimination of the gas tax. And so I think there's a lot of things we can do, and we will do. But the bottom line is, ultimately, the reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. The reason why the food crisis exists is because of Russia. Russia not allowing grain to get out of Ukraine. And if we do these things, it's just
He's not going to mention anything about the sanctions. Have you noticed that? The sanctions that were imposed by the United States. When Biden first announced that, I told everyone that that would affect us too. And here we are. He's struggling here.
Made it we could bring down tomorrow, if Congress
What?
agreed and the states agreed, we could bring down the price of oil about $1 a gallon at the pump, in that range. And so we could have immediate relief in terms of the reduction of the elimination of temporary elimination of the gas tax.
Joe Biden does not need to be president of the United States. Joe Biden right now needs to go home, have some prune juice, and chill. He's struggling. This is a terrible look for the United States. This is our president. I can only imagine what other countries are saying about us right now. I can only imagine. But it gets worse. Now, apparently, Joe Biden is not too happy about the fact that people don't want him to run in 2024. He's being rejected by his own party. And he's not too happy about that. Now, Case Study QB, he clipped this here. I want you guys to listen to this discussion about Joe Biden not being happy about people not wanting him to run in 2024. I want to remind you, the man has done nothing. He's done nothing for us. Continuing to help Ukraine, though. They just sent, what, another $800 million to go over there to help them, but nothing for us. And he's surprised people don't want him to run. Let's hear this. This is comical.
A whopping 85% of the country says America is on the wrong track. And that includes 7.
Oh, Eric, can you do volume booster really quick? I think the volume on this one is a little bit low. I'm not sure why. Oh. I don't know what happened to Eric, but here we go. Actually, I can probably do it myself. Let's see if I can try to do this. Oh, that's Eric right there. Sorry. 2 mouses on the screen. 2 mouse on the screen. Okay. Yeah, that should be.
Second term for him. The New York Times reporting the president is, quote, irked by Democrats who won't take yes for an answer on 2024. The Times adding, quote, the president and his top aides have been stung by the questions about his plans, irritated at what they see as a lack of respect from their party and the press. But despite all the odds, Kamala Harris is trying to instill confidence in the sinking ship.
By the way, I don't care for this woman right here either. Janine, I think that's her name. I don't care for her either.
Joe Biden is running for re-election, and I will be his ticket mate. Full stop. Full stop. That's it.
And as the Democrats panic over their flailing 2024 prospects, the media thinks Hillary Clinton will be the one to bail them out. CNN has begun their push for two-time presidential loser to make another run at the White House. And Gayle King is practically begging Hillary to do it.
There's no scenario in 2024 that you would even remotely consider.
I can't imagine it. I really can't. I
can't imagine it either. Don't do it. We don't want you. We've already showed you that we don't want you. You lost to a reality TV star. Can't get any worse than that. Really can't. I don't even know why Gayle is trying to encourage Hillary Clinton to run again. Come on. Wow. Wow.
I don't know.
Well, but what I can imagine is staying as active and outspoken as I can.
She can't imagine it, Jesse.
Yeah.
She just can't. The two-time loser wants to go for it a third time.
So this Operation Joe Must Go has really picked up after the bike fiasco. People who were on the fence are now definitely starting to throw the guy a retirement party. But you're throwing someone a retirement party and he doesn't want to retire. It's like, Joe, we're going to have some balloons. What kind of cake do you want? And Joe's like, I'm not retiring. I don't want cake. Oh, you're going to have the vanilla. You're going to love it. And he's out. So it's more of a media coup than a Democratic Party coup, because you look at these questions. Dana Bash is asking who's running. Gail King.
He just said the quiet part out loud when he says it's more of a media coup, because what he's letting you know is that the media basically picks who the person's going to be. Have they not done this before? Wasn't it the media who decided it was not going to be Bernie Sanders, even though the polls were saying something different? Wasn't it the media that decided that it was going to be Hillary Clinton, even though even at that point, the polls, even when it started to close in, they still were saying it was going to be Hillary Clinton? The media is very much involved in our political system. They are the driving force of what happens in our political system, them and money. I would argue that mainstream media is probably one of the most dangerous aspects of politics, because they control the narrative. And that's exactly what they did with Bernie Sanders. They controlled that narrative. They told you that he was going to take your health care away, and thousands of Americans believed it, because that's what mainstream media told them. So he just said the quiet part out loud, letting you know what the media wants, and what the media wants is usually what they get.
Is asking. Stephen Colbert is asking AOC, are you doing this? They're doing it right in front of Joe's face because he's bad for business. The ratings are down. He's no fun to cover. I mean, you used to go to Martha's Vineyard. You used to go to Hawaii or Mar-a-Lago. What do you go to Delaware now to cover Joe Biden? No one wants to do that. They loved, or West Texas.
All right.
They loved covering Barack Obama. They loved covering Bill Clinton, because those were young, charismatic guys that took the fight to Republicans day after day. Joe Biden doesn't lay any wood on the Republicans. He's fighting Putin harder than he's fighting the Republican Party. And to the media, Republicans are the enemy, and they need to be attacked 24/7. The media cannot stomach putting out poll after poll that shows their guy, who they dragged over the finish line, at 38%. You can see.
That's a good point. Greg mentioned in the chat last time he checked, Fox News was also a part of the media. That is interesting that he's talking about the media as if he's not a part of it. He is a part of mainstream media. What he means to say is he means to describe the liberal media, the channels like CNN and MSNBC that cater towards the Democrat politicians. He's pretending like he's not a part of the problem. Interesting.
Them getting physically ill on the air. And talk about the parent companies, AT&T, Comcast. They're looking at the market every single day. They've lost, what, 20%? Their stock prices are down. And now.
Doesn't Comcast also own you? Interesting he would bring them up. Comcast also was one of Joe Biden's donors, FYI.
Now the donors aren't happy either, so this thing's almost done. Now the media is basically.
What was that? Let's go back. Listen to this. Again, he says the quiet part out loud. I hope more Americans that watch this segment are catching what he says.
Then he's fighting the Republican Party, and to the media, Republicans are the enemy, and they need to be attacked 24/7. The media cannot stomach putting out poll after poll that shows their guy, who they dragged over the finish line, at 38%. You can see them getting physically ill on the air. And talk about the parent companies, AT&T, Comcast. They're looking at the market every single day. They've lost, what, 20%? Their stock prices are down. And now the donors aren't happy either, so this thing's almost done.
And now the donors aren't happy either, so this thing is almost done. I hope everyone who watched this segment caught what he said, because that's actually what it's about. It's about pleasing the donors. And if you don't please them, they really have the power to make sure that you don't happen again. He just said the quiet part out loud. This is why I tell you it's all about the money. It's about the donors, which is Wall Street, corporate America. That's what the politicians do. They please them. They don't please us. Notice in that speech, he didn't say the American people aren't happy. He said the donors aren't happy. Even though a lot of us are not happy with Joe Biden, he didn't mention that. You know why? Because he knows it doesn't matter if we're happy or not. He knows that Wall Street and the media pick the candidates. They decide who they want in, the people who are going to serve them. I really hope people caught that. I really do.
Now the media has basically started the primary. The primary's begun. And now the primary is anybody but Bernie Sanders, because the media hates Bernie Sanders and half the Democratic Party hates him. So they're road testing AOC and Mayor Pete and Kamala, but everybody knows it's going to be a flop. So the only shot they have is to indict Donald Trump.
Huge shout out to Case Study QB for catching that clip. He just told you at the end, the media has already decided who the primary is going to be. And we know the donors control the media. So there you go. Case Study, thank you so much. I don't know how he catches these clips, but that was a really good one. And this is why, and I'm going to say this, and some people are not going to like it. That's okay. If you have not officially left the Democratic Party, it's time for you to pack your bags and go. You need to leave this corrupt party. The whole system is so dirty. Look at what the Democratic Party just did to Matthew Hoh in North Carolina. Green Party candidate for Senate. Met all the requirements. Got all the signatures that he needed to get to be on the ballot this November. What did the Democratic Party do? They held a vote to make sure that he would not appear on that ballot. I kid you not. He was just on Jimmy Dore's show earlier today. And I've been tweeting it out, passing it on to as many people as possible. We have to call this system out. Why would you want to be a part of that party that is doing that? The Republican Party is also corrupt. Also corrupt. But one thing I will say about them, they don't have super delegates. Their system is different. Why are the super delegates a problem? Because they're the reason why someone like Bernie Sanders, even though he was polling higher than Hillary Clinton in states like Wyoming, the super delegates chose Hillary Clinton. The GOP doesn't have that. Why the hell do they have super delegates? Why? So they can get the people that are going to serve corporate interests in those seats. They don't want the people that the American people want. They want the people that Wall Street wants. How dirty can you be? Leave it. Leave the party. All of it. And when I say all of it, that includes the progressives, because they joined the corrupt party. They're not doing anything either. Leave all of it behind and don't feel bad about it. Some people, particularly African Americans, not feeling Joe, and they are letting him know. And they're talking about leaving as well. I want you to see this clip. Now, this was from, I think, a month ago. I think CJ shared this earlier, and I was like, I have to share this tonight as well. I want you to hear from someone who actually mobilized people in his community to come out and vote for Joe Biden, particularly in a state that Democrats do not win, and that state was Georgia. Listen to what he has to say about Joe Biden now.
So we got some free giveaways.
Jasiri X helped turn out the vote for President Biden in 2020. But now
you have a lot of black people that feel like we sacrificed a lot to make sure this administration came in, and we haven't collectively reaped the benefits.
The Pittsburgh activist says Biden has failed to deliver on his promises.
There's been a direct attack on our voting rights. That hasn't been addressed, right? We did all of this organizing around police reform, but like the opposite has happened. It's almost like we're last on the agenda. Right?
A year.
And I'm going to tell you something for those of you who care a lot about police reform, then you damn sure shouldn't be voting for Democrats or Republicans, because both parties are giving more money to the police. So there's that. He said it feels like we're last on the list. We are. We've always been last on the list. Had it not been for the pandemic, had it not been for the current inflation, I don't think more people would have woken up to it. I think a lot of people would still be asleep.
Ago, exit polls showed Biden's approval rating among black voters at 87%. Now it's 63%, but ahead of the midterm.
It's actually 59% now. This was a month ago, just FYI.
Biden and Democrats will need to convince voters like Farouk al-Sahid to turn out. Al-Sahid voted for the first time in 2020.
Democrats haven't done anything to improve my black quality of life in the States. We might just have to sit this one out.
Jamie.
Yes. Sit it out. Let them lose. Let them lose so bad that it's embarrassing for them. You're going to have to take something away from them because they've been taking a lot away from us. This time you're going to have to take something away from them. You take away your vote. You let them know that they don't just automatically get our vote. Now here comes Jamie Harrison. He's another corporate goon. He lost to Lindsey Graham. Listen to what he has to say. He's another clown.
Harrison, chair of the Democratic National Committee, said the Biden administration has taken a number of steps, like providing funding for Black-owned businesses and historically Black colleges and universities.
What do you say to Black voters who say that President Biden...
In reference to historically Black universities, he told those students that he was going to forgive their student loan debt. That did not happen. Coming onto this show and bragging about the fact that Joe Biden gave money to universities and gave money for businesses, that doesn't say anything to me. That means nothing, because that's capitalism. That's him supporting capital. Universities are business. I know. I worked at university for over 10 years. People call them schools. Those of us who have worked there will tell you it's a business. That's Joe Biden. That's Joe Biden supporting businesses, not supporting the people, keeping his promise to the HBCU students that he would forgive their student loan debt. That would have been him supporting the people. That's the difference between the two.
It hasn't delivered on a lot of the promises he made on the campaign trail.
I like to tell folks, Rome wasn't built in a day. We particularly want to do more, but we got to have more votes in the United States Senate in order to do it.
See? That's what they do. Well, we want to do more, but we need more votes. Bro, you know how many people came out and voted for Joe Biden in 2020? When I think back to all those people, particularly Black people, that I saw on TV standing in line in Atlanta for over 10 hours. My friend was texting me the entire time, waited in line for all those hours, especially older Black people. That really pissed me off to see them do that, wait all those hours to vote for a man who ain't going to do anything for you or your community. That really bothered me. It made me feel some kind of way. Black people put in all that time to check your name off on a ballot. And you haven't done anything for Black community. Canceling student loan debt would greatly help Black women. We have the highest student loan debt. We have the bulk of it. Don't even mention reparations. Don't even go there because you know that's a no-no. Nothing. What does he do instead after a summer of people protesting, marching in the streets about George Floyd, after summers, people marching across the world in different countries? His response is, okay, everybody, put on some kente cloth and kneel, and let's go give the police more money. This guy's a joke. And Black people, we got to stop falling for this game. This young woman right here, she falling for the game. Listen.
Campbell agrees. The Philadelphia resident is eager to have her student loans forgiven.
But I think he needs more time to really make real change. I love that he's putting a lot of particularly African-American women in position.
What? This is what continues to happen. This is why we don't get anything. Yes, I would like my student loans to be forgiven, but we need to give him more time. He's on his second year. The country is crumbling. I like that he's appointing Black people in these positions. What does that do for the Black community? Mainstream media has really propagandized Americans, but in particular, has really propagandized African Americans to believe that the Democratic Party is actually doing something for us. Why else would she say that? Because she thinks that's actually something that's beneficial to the community. It's not. Brainwashing.
Still, Black voters like Will Mega say Democrats need to get much more aggressive.
What would you say to President Biden if you could speak with him?
I would say, Mr. President, we delivered for you. It's time for you to deliver for us.
A direct message from the voters that Democrats will have to win back before the midterms. Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News.
Leave the party. Leave the party. I got to tell you, if you've been watching independent media and you still believe that the Democratic Party is going to help you, is going to do something for you, I don't know what else to tell you. I really don't. I'm going to go to some of these comments and then I'm going to move on to the next story. Thanks for the super chat, AJF. It's the low energy performance and voice tone hate to sound ageist, but LOL. Thank you for this super chat as well. Why U.S. presidents kiss Israel's boop so much? Shame. It's a good question. Thank you for this super chat, The Traveler. It cost me about $80 to fill up a gas tank for a 14-gallon tank. I'm tired of paying almost $5 a gallon in Atlanta. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is why I don't really drive anywhere right now. I go down the street. When I go get my allergy shots, that's the furthest I have to go. That kills my tank. I couldn't imagine making that drive every day. Thanks for the super chat, AJF equals butt. Thank you for the super sticker, Becca C. Thank you for this super chat, Salgato. Hey, Gamer, I respect your self-care and staying. Gamer, you get shout outs from a lot of people. Thank you for this, AJF. When those in elite cities, an elite class, say the quiet parts, that's a sign of a failing empire. Hubris and out of touchness sets in. French Revolution, anyone? LOL. Delthea Simmons says North Carolina is a good old boy state where the good old boys are trying hard to hold on to power. They really believe they can bully and coral leftists into the voting booths. I see a lot of people sitting home. It's true. I went to high school in North Carolina. I'm not sure if everyone knows that. Shout out to Leah Ford. Thank you so much for the super chat. Sabby Sabs 2024, Party of Truth, like it or not. Oh, thank you. That's sweet. I would never run for office, though. I'm a little too mean. They'd kick me out. Thank you for the super sticker, Kyle Woolley. And thank you for the super chat, Andrew. So we just talking about butts in the super chats? That's cute. Let me go ahead and take these comments from Roger Meadows on Rockfin. Thank you for the the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Sabby, you say vote third party to take votes away from Dems. However, according to Dr. Stein, it brings out more never voters or vote on occasion voters than pulling away from other parties. Saying let's vote third to take votes away from Dems is how you get Matt Ho getting screwed. Please pardon the pun, Ho. I mean, Matt. Sorry, I had to go there, Matt, but I'm sure you heard the jokes all your life. Oh, Roger. Thank you for this tip as well. It makes perfect sense that he'd answer Israel since he knows, like the UN said, that Israel is guilty of violating the human rights of Palestinians. So he instinctively felt the need to defend them. He said a lot of things that we can do and will do. Will that include going further than what GOP wants to do, where they say domestic drilling, but stop short of nationalization of oil? Sabs, you say Joe needs to go home and drink prune juice. Are you saying that because he's full of shit? Holy shit. Did he just say Obama took the fight to Republicans? Nah, dude. He took the fight to the left. Comcast owns everything with NBC in their name. News Corp owns everything with Fox in their name. Waters complaining about the ratings for his show are down. Now that's saying the quiet part out loud. Sabby, you said black people not feeling Joe and they're letting him know. And they are talking about leaving as well. Yes, you were right when you said you weren't good at rhyming. This is what I was hoping you'd say. And it is time for us to go. There you go, fixed. Don't worry. We're going to get your rhyming skills up, Sab. I believe in you. I'm glad you believe in me because I cannot rap. I try, but my friends have told me before that I should never rap because they said I'm not mean enough in the songs. They said that I have to be more mean, I guess, like grittier or whatever. I mean, I tried to do it with back that thing up. Girl, you look good. Won't you back that thing up? Tell me who you playing with. Back that thing up. See, I just can't. I'm not believable. Listen to this. This is something else to add on to that story. This is a scary thing here. Now, this is breaking 911. What do you say to those families that say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years? Listen to what this guy says, because this is really creepy. Let me make this bigger. This is creepy. Listen to what he says.
Sustainable. What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
Well, what you heard from the president today was a clear articulation of the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
Sustainable. What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
Well, what you heard from the president today was a clear articulation of the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
Sustainable. What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
Wait for it.
Well, what you heard from the president today was a clear articulation of the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we...
This is about the future of the what? This is about the future of the liberal world order? The what? What is that? Is this like some secret society that we weren't supposed to know about, but now we know about? What do you mean the liberal world order? What are you talking about? He just let you know it's not about what we want. It's about what the liberal world order wants. Well. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to go on to our next story. Now, Matt Taibbi, I told you he writes really good articles. I like his articles here because I said he gets straight to the point. He brought up a topic that I think we need to be talking about, and it involves the Second Amendment. He's talking about the fact, is it possible that there's some type of hypocrisy with the Second Amendment when you're talking about Black people arming themselves? Listen to this. Now, this is on his Substack, TK News. Check this out. This article is titled Activism Uncensored. Are Black Second Amendment advocates the ultimate taboo? I don't know, Matt. Let's see. I'm not going to read the entire article, but there's a couple parts I want to point out. If people aren't going to do their job, then we're here to do it for them. Now, that's coming from Nick Bezel. He's from the Elmer Geronimo Pratt Pistol and Rifle Gun Club. After being told for the second time today that officials in Brookhaven, Mississippi wouldn't meet with him and other armed Black activists. Bezel was with a group of demonstrators, including Black Panthers, who were upset over a case involving a 24-year-old Federal Express driver named DeMontario Gibson. On January 24th, earlier this year, Gibson was shot by a man named Brandon Chase and his father, Gregory Chase, while attempting to make deliveries. If you are not familiar with that story, I think I tried to get him on. I couldn't find contact information. There was a guy, he worked for FedEx. He was driving through a neighborhood where there was obviously racist people. Again, just doing his job. He was in the FedEx truck. Two men came outside and shot at him, shot at the truck multiple times. Obviously, he kept driving, what I think is the best thing there, and he did not get out of the truck. He reported the incident to his employer, to FedEx, and FedEx, I guess they tried to pretend like they understood and told him, okay, you need some time off. Obviously that's going to shake somebody up. So he needed some time off to deal with what the hell just happened. Like, he just got gunned down while he was doing his job. Do you know that FedEx fired him? They fired him. So this was a big story a couple of months ago. So this group, this Black activist group, they want to know why this still hasn't been taken care of. So that's what Matt's discussing here in this article. So I'm going to go back in. The two cases were eventually charged with assault, but bonded out quickly. That means they got out on bail. Gibson and the accompanying group wanted elevated charges, for instance, attempted murder or a hate crime. News cameras captured the scenes of activists being told a planned meeting with a district attorney was called off and being thrown out of the area by the Brookhaven police chief just as they were leaving. 2 days later, a coalition of Black pro-gun groups, including Black Panthers. So for those of you who have asked me this before, are there still any Black Panther members? Yes, there are. The Black Riders Liberation Party, the aforementioned Elmer Geronimo Pratt Gun Club, Sisters of the Underground, the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, the Black Power Militia, the Black Power Coalition, and others gathered on Juneteenth in Natchez, Mississippi, at the site of Devil's Punch Bowl, where some historians say up to 20,000 Black people died during and after the Civil War. NewsShare captured those scenes as well, which included a collective signing of a declaration of the Regulated United Black Militia. Some protesters brandish a placard with a declaration of self-determination by Black peoples and organizations, while others replaced "Hands up, don't shoot" with a new chant. Let me jump down here. There are a lot of taboos on commercial television which, for instance, doesn't like to show scenes of poverty unless it's being chased by police, rarely interviews non-voters, almost never does military contracting fraud stories, and seldom shows results on the ground of American military drone strikes, even if they've already appeared on the airwaves of other countries. Perhaps the most dependable taboo in American media, however, involves Black Second Amendment advocates. Ford and NewsShare have documented over the years there are many such groups, and they sometimes march in conjunction with groups like the Boogaloo Boys. So remember that time that Jimmy Dore brought a Boogaloo Boy on his show that he saw marching with Black Lives Matter protesters? So here's Matt Taibbi confirming that, yes, sometimes they do, I guess, connect. Now, there's different fractions of the Boogaloo Boys. Just keep that in mind. But apparently the one that Magnus was a part of connected with Black Lives Matter. So let's go back in. In fact, the biggest taboo of all might be showing such groups demonstrating together. And then here's a picture here where you'll see today Black Lives Matter and Boogaloo protesters joined forces for an open carry rally against police violence and government overreach. So there's the pictures there. Whatever you're feeling about guns, I am personally not a fan. The psychology of the contrasting coverage of pro-gun demonstrations is fascinating. News audiences are clearly meant to associate white pro-gun protesters with a dangerous and probably organized national race hatred movement, while Black pro-gun protesters either don't exist or are a fringe movement not worth covering. Under no circumstance must such groups be shown together, even when they are organized co-demonstration. The first installment of Activism Uncensored from last June, for instance, showed such a joint demonstration in Virginia Beach. And then here you go again here. It says BLM 757 and Boogaloo Boys team up for Virginia Beach rally. So apparently this has happened more than once. It goes on to say it's often hard to gauge whether certain movements are gaining or losing strength nationally or are simply organizing more effectively thanks to the internet. However, it is clear the national press doesn't have a settled upon strategy for covering armed Black protesters. Now, I want to ask you this. Why is that? Why do you think they don't really want to cover that? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. I want to show you something that I remember. It was actually my parents that told me about this. This is about Ronald Reagan having an issue with Black people carrying guns, whether they had a permit or not. Listen to this. I want to read a small portion of this. Ronald Reagan's moment of massive historical irony, how armed Black men led to gun control. A lot of people don't know about this. You'd be surprised. Ronald Reagan, I don't know if everyone remembers, but you can probably still find these ads on YouTube. Ronald Reagan used to have these ads when he was running for president, describing him as like the all-American guy. So it would show him chopping wood, having a shotgun, the all-American guy. That was the message they were trying to get across. Ronald Reagan supported the Second Amendment. What Ronald Reagan did not support was Black people supporting the Second Amendment. Listen to this. Ronald Reagan's moment of massive historical irony, how armed Black men led to gun control. Now, this right here says when armed Black Panthers showed up at the California State Capitol in 1967, they probably saved thousands of lives. So that's the Black Panthers in Sacramento. May 2nd, 1967, the destinies of Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, and Ronald Reagan collided. The day saved untold thousands of lives. At the time, California was an open carry state with few gun restrictions. Governor Reagan was on the steps of the state capitol to meet and share lunch with a group of visiting 8th graders when Newton, Seale, and nearly 30 other Black Panthers pulled up out front in a small caravan of cars. Armed with everything from pistols to 12-gauge shotguns, they climbed the half dozen steps to the area around the front doors of the building. Seale pulled out a prepared statement and read it to the students. And this was the statement. Black people have begged, prayed, petitioned, demonstrated, and everything else to get the racist power structure of America to right the wrongs which have historically been perpetuated against Black people. The time has come for Black people to arm themselves against this terror before it is too late. They walked into the building to confront the state's police and legislatures, fully loaded guns and rifles in their hands. Reagan was aghast, and the nearly all-white California legislator panicked. There's no reason why on the street today a citizen should be carrying a loaded weapon. That came from Ronald Reagan. Couldn't say his name there for a second. Within a few weeks, Republican Assemblyman Don Mulford, with bipartisan support, introduced into California Assembly a law, AB 1591, to ban people in California from carrying loaded weapons in public. So for those of you who were not aware, now you know where that came from. And it's been this way since. Why is it okay for a white person to have a permit to carry and the police seem to be okay about that or give them the benefit of the doubt? But when we look at some of these cases where a Black person had a permit to carry a mirror lock, the police don't give them the benefit of the doubt first and they shoot and kill them. That is because when it comes to the Second Amendment, there is a stereotype there, and there's hypocrisy. Because what I've noticed a lot of times when people say that they're pro-gun and they're for the Second Amendment, particularly this comes from white people, no shade, but just being honest, they're talking about people like them. A lot of times they're talking about people like them being okay. They're okay with them carrying guns. But when you have a group of Black people who support the Second Amendment and are carrying those arms, that's when the masses tend to get nervous. And that's not the first time that's happened. If you go back and you look at the history of slavery in this country, at one point, there were so many slaves here that it got to the point where the slaves started to outnumber white people. They didn't like that. That was a scary moment for white people in this country, because the first thing they thought was, uh-oh, are they going to rise up just like Haitians did and have their own revolution against us? Are they going to treat us the way that we've been treating them? The Second Amendment exhibits some sort of power for people. Some people have a gun because it makes them feel powerful. Some people have one because it makes them feel safe. What I have often noticed is it seems like when it comes to power, there seems to be certain people that people feel should have it. And a lot of times that's not African Americans. So that's a good piece there by Matt Taibbi. He also wrote this with Ford, I believe. Check him out on Substack if you haven't checked out his Substack, guys. It's really good stuff, like I said. I mean, I usually do a lot of reading on Substack, so that's kind of my go-to, to be honest. Keeping it reals. Gonna go to some of these comments here. Thanks for the super chat, Tool Druid. I always want to say droid. I don't know why I said it like that. Diversity is great, but what substantive policies has it led to? It's the substance that matters, nothing else. It's true. We haven't led to anything. Nothing. Thank you for the super chat, Bizarro Joy. Joe. Sorry, I don't know why I wouldn't say that. Haha. So I just posted in the Worcester, Massachusetts Discord. For those who don't know, it's Worcester. If some of you are reading this and you're like, that's pronounced Worcester, it's Worcester. That I want to form an independent coalition to challenge Jim McGovern. Time to replace him. That sounds good, Bizarro. I'd be on board with that. A2Z me. New sub here. Keep telling the truth, Sabby. No matter how uncomfortable it might be. The GOP might be the devil incarnate, but the Dems are most certainly not your friend. Thank you so much for that. And welcome. Shout out. Thanks for the super chat, AJF. No. It's not liberal. It's neoliberal world order. You get it right, please. Bam. Sorry, Sab. And thank you for this super chat, Danny. The Second Amendment is really rooted in slavery, specifically fears of a slave uprising. That was the main reason for a well-regulated militia. Thank you for that super chat, Danny. Okay, now for the story of the night. We need to talk about Joe Rogan. Let's get into this. Yes, what you read is true. Joe Rogan does think that Ron DeSantis would make a good president. Now, this came from Insider. Joe Rogan says Florida Governor Ron DeSantis would be a good president and calls Joe Biden a dead man. Let's get into this story. All right. This is interesting. The high-profile fan base of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just got bigger. Joe Rogan, the world's #1 most listened podcaster, said Tuesday that he thinks the 43-year-old Republican governor would work as a good president. Oh, Joe, what is happening to you? What he's done for Florida has been admirable, Rogan said in an episode of his Joe Rogan Experience show, when Daily Wire actress Gina Carano was asking who he might want to see run for the White House in 2024. He described DeSantis as not perfect, but said he stood up for freedoms. Hold on to that, because I'm going to show you a clip in just a second from Secular Talk, where he points out that that's not necessarily true. Rogan also referred to President Joe Biden, 79, as a dead man when he discussing the state of the U.S. Sorry. Rogan's comments are likely to add speculation that DeSantis would run for president in 2024, even though the governor has repeatedly said he's focused on his 2022 race for re-election in Florida. Elizabeth Warren also said that in the past. When she was running for re-election here in Massachusetts, she said that she was focusing on her race here in Massachusetts, but she also ran for president. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Earlier this month, DeSantis beat former President Donald Trump in a straw poll of self-identified conservative conference goers at the Western Conservative Summit, who were asked who they'd like to be the 2024 presidential nominee. A Morning Consult poll out Wednesday also showed growing support for DeSantis. DeSantis tends to brush off questions about 2024 when he's asked, though last week he said he thought the presidential speculation was aimed at distracting from the losses that Democrats are expected to face in the midterms in November. Rogan is just the latest high-profile figure to heap praise on DeSantis. Last week, pundit Piers Morgan called on Republicans to dump Trump and support DeSantis. And earlier this month, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk said he'd likely support DeSantis for president in 2024. DeSantis, I got to be careful for new people here who don't understand why I'm about to say this word, but because of censorship, I have to call it something else. DeSantis' pandemic response got Rogan's attention. During his podcast, Rogan said his support for DeSantis was largely because of the governor's approach to the pandemic. DeSantis prohibited schools and workplaces from forcing workers to get the jab as a condition of employment, and from forcing children to wear masks in schools. He stressed that the state should focus on the most vulnerable populations. I feel like what he did for Florida, a lot of people gave him a lot of grief, but ultimately he was correct. He was correct when it comes to deaths. He was correct. And when it comes to protecting all vulnerable populations, he was correct in terms of distribution of monoclonal antibodies. Rogan holds several politically liberal positions, including on abortion, drug legalization, but he has drawn criticism for his willingness to interview controversial people on his podcast and for saying that young and healthy people didn't need the jab. Rogan appeared to touch on the controversy more broadly in his Tuesday podcast. There was some weird gaslighting shit that went on where people equated freedom and saying the word freedom to like right-wing bigotry and hate is so strange. DeSantis, in turn, has defended Rogan before. In February, he said Rogan shouldn't cow to the mob and apologize after a video montage went viral of Rogan using a racial slur on his podcast. So, when I first heard this, I was like, this is probably a rumor. I first heard about it on Twitter. I was like, let me do my research because this is probably a rumor. I always have to do that, especially with a lot of the information that comes across Twitter. And then I saw it was not a rumor. So Joe Rogan does support Ron DeSantis running for president. Now, I would say, Joe Rogan, his positions have changed over the past couple of months. Last year, he did an interview with Kyle Kalinske. I think that interview may have been pulled from Spotify because I do remember they pulled a bunch of his episodes, and I think that was the one. And that's unfortunate because it was that interview where Joe Rogan said he actually changed his mind about Medicare for all. That's the one I'm referring to when I tell people that he actually said, that was recent. He actually said recently that he's not for Medicare for all anymore. It was on that segment where I saw him say that. Now, he said something about has to deal with the doctors not being able to get paid what they should get paid. It was a long conversation. I don't remember all of it, but I remember that part. And Joe Rogan, will I say that his positions are exactly the same as they were when he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020? No, I don't think they are. He's changed his views on some things. Now, somebody sent me this video of Secular Talk responding to Joe Rogan supporting Ron DeSantis for president for 2024. And I want you to listen to this. I'm not going to play the entire video, but there's certain parts that I do want to show you. It was pretty clear to me. I think Kyle was pretty disturbed by this. And I guess he's friends with Joe Rogan or something like that. And I guess, he probably looking at this as though, how could you endorse Bernie Sanders in 2020 and now you're saying you support Ron DeSantis? So I guess I see where that's coming from. But it was also kind of clear to me based on some of the things that he shows in this video and he says in this video, I don't think that Kyle has been listening to Joe Rogan recently. If he has, maybe he's just missed those episodes, but Joe Rogan's views have changed. I see people getting a cringe face in the chat. Don't worry, Kyle's face is not on this video. For some reason, he's actually not on the video. He's just talking. So the first thing he's going to do is he's going to explain to you why Ron DeSantis is not a good decision. He's going to show you some of where he stands on some of the issues and why that doesn't fit Joe Rogan's, where Joe Rogan stands on those issues. And then he's going to show you where Joe Rogan stands on the issues. And that's the part that I want you to pay close attention to because I noticed something about those clips. So here we go.
Now, one of the things Joe clearly cares a lot about is he was anti-mandate and he was anti-lockdown. And he uses that word freedom a lot in this clip. Here's the problem with Ron DeSantis. Even though you can say, hey, the fact that he was anti-lockdown is something I consider pro-freedom, can't say that about this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says marijuana should remain criminalized because of its, quote, putrid odor. Now, this is an issue that Joe Rogan cares a lot about, if not more than the lockdown stuff. And of course, he's cared about it for a much longer time because it's been an issue for a longer amount of time. So, but even to the claim of like, hey, he's anti-lockdown and it kind of worked out in Florida. Well, on paper, it is true that the number of COVID deaths or the rate of COVID deaths in Florida compared to other states like New York, for example, it's almost identical. So without the stringent lockdown, you still had about the same number of deaths in Florida as you did in New York, as you did in even like the strictest lockdown states. I think Michigan was one of them, and Michigan even had a slightly higher COVID death rate. But having said that, it might be a little bit misleading because Miami Herald reports Florida undercounted COVID cases and deaths. Failed to get test results, state audit says. But now also New York did too. New York undercounted those deaths as well.
I got to speed up a little bit past this. We can't stay on that for too long because YouTube don't like that. Let's go back to the weed.
And I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if Joe knows that this guy's deeply against marijuana. So I really hope Joe watches this segment because I'm going to walk through the rest of Ron DeSantis' record. Now,
so I want to chime in here for just a second in reference to DeSantis being against decriminalizing marijuana. I don't know if Joe Rogan knows about that as well. Like I knew that. But the reason why I'm asking, though, is because remember, Joe Rogan used to live in California. Joe Rogan moved to Texas. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think marijuana is decriminalized in Texas. I have to check that. Someone in the chat, if you can you, anyone in the chat from Texas, can you let me know? I don't think it is. But it seemed like Joe Rogan was okay with that. He was okay with moving there, you know, if that's the case, and knowing that it's not. I mean, Joe Rogan's rich. So even if he lives in a state, weed is illegal in Texas. That's what I thought. Thank you, Guy Fall. Joe Rogan is rich. I mean, like he can live in whatever state he wants. And even if it's, you know, not decriminalized or it's not legal in that state, is that really going to affect them? Is it really going to affect someone like Joe Rogan, who's a celebrity, who's rich? Are the cops really going to arrest Joe Rogan for weed? I don't think so. So that may not be something that Joe Rogan really cares about, to be honest with you, because he's not really affected. Here we go.
Understand, one of the issues I care deeply about, and I know Joe cares deeply about, is free speech. Well, let's look at DeSantis' record on that front. DeSantis signs bill banning protests outside any residence. Just so everybody understands, this is unconstitutional. This is against the First Amendment. And the Supreme Court has decided this. There was a case from the 1990s where anti-abortion protesters protested outside of an abortion clinic. Now, there are rules like, you know, you can't harass the people walking in or touch the people walking in. You need to keep a little bit of distance between you and the abortion clinic. But they said, look, it's unconstitutional to tell them they can't protest there. Now, by the same token, in that same case, the anti-abortion protesters actually went to the residences of people who worked at the abortion clinic and they protested there. Now, again, as long as you keep a certain amount of distance, it is your constitutional right to protest outside of their residence. That's what they decided. So DeSantis doing this is flat out unconstitutional. And
this is the hypocrisy part about Ron DeSantis, because I know like some people have come forward and say that they like him because he's against censorship and he says that he's pro free speech. But at the same time, he was the one that, you know, signed the bill that prevented people from protesting at people's residences in Florida. So I still feel like that's censorship. So that's the whole hypocrisy. You know, it's like it's the people that like it's the people that like they say they're for free speech, but it's only for certain things. And I feel like that's kind of how it is with Ron DeSantis. But I will also say that that is one of the reasons why Joe Rogan also liked Ron DeSantis, because Ron DeSantis came forward and said he's against censorship. So that's the point that Kyle's pointing out here. He's like, well, no, he's not free speech right here.
Against free speech and against free protest, and he did it directly in response to protests outside of Supreme Court justices' homes. More. DeSantis signs bill ending vehicle driver liability for hitting protesters. I believe this was in the wake of the 2020 BLM riots, in the wake of George Floyd being killed. You had these anti-free speech, anti-protest bills pop up in a lot of the Republican states. And again, a lot of these laws are unconstitutional because they end up cracking down on innocent, peaceful protesters. To borrow an old phrase, it's like using a hatchet when you need a scalpel. Anybody who commits actual crimes, burns some shit down, does some property damage, that's against the law. You can arrest them for that stuff. But what they're trying to do here is criminalize protests of a variety and flavor and ideology that they don't agree with.
Right, because if it was protesting for something that Ron DeSantis probably agreed with, he'd probably be okay with it. I agree with him on that point. So I don't know if Joe Rogan's like paying attention to these bills that Ron DeSantis is signing. I don't know if he is or not, but that's a problem. He should be paying attention to that.
That's exactly what DeSantis was doing here. Ending vehicle driver liability for hitting protesters. So almost green lighting people to drive over protesters if you disagree with the protesters. That's beyond preposterous and, again, deeply against the First Amendment. More. Florida rejects 41% of new math textbooks, citing critical race theory among its reasons. Now, this is just like goofy-ass witch hunt stuff. But it even goes deeper than this, because remember...
But that's another example of the free speech hypocrisy. Again, that's another thing to point to, that stop saying that Ron DeSantis is pro-free speech. He's only pro-free speech about the issues that he wants you to know about. That's it. The issues that he approves of. I'm going to skip ahead here just a little bit because, like I said, I can't play the entire interview. I think he goes into the don't say gay law next. That should be coming next.
And now we have the answer. This actually just came out. Look at this, guys. Representatives for Orange County teachers sounded alarm bells Monday after word spread from principals that Orange County Public Schools would impose strict restrictions on classroom behavior after Florida's new parental rights and education law, aka the Don't Say Gay law, took effect. In private, administrators-only seminars last week, OCPS attorneys advised principals what behaviors would and would not be legal under the law during a camp legal presentation. According to representatives of the county's teacher association, teachers and staff members will be disallowed from wearing rainbow articles of clothing, including lanyards distributed by the district last year. Elementary level teachers reported being discouraged from putting pictures of their same-sex spouse on their desk or talking about them to students. Safe space stickers aimed at LGBTQ students may have to be removed from doors. Teachers will have to report to parents if a student comes out to them, and they must use pronouns assigned at birth.
Okay, so even with this one, this is another example of the hypocrisy. Like, really, you can't have a picture of you and your spouse on your desk if you're gay? That's not, again, that's censorship, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to move forward a little bit here because he starts to get into the part where he believes that Joe Rogan stands on the issues. He shows also a video of some of the other things that Ron DeSantis has done. But that's actually pretty long. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. What I want to jump to is this part right about here.
Florida falls in income inequality, tax fairness, education spending, you name it. Ron DeSantis will keep leading his culture wars, claiming to stand up to big business.
You can't be cowed by these organizations, particularly by woke corporations, from doing the right thing.
Well, the right thing for DeSantis seems to be turning his back on Floridians and protecting the bottom line of massive corporations.
Yeah, I mean, Ron DeSantis is straight up corporate. I don't think he's pretending like he's not. I'm just being honest.
See, this is what guys like DeSantis do. They lean into culture war stuff, and then they're just standard run-of-the-mill corrupt politicians serving corporations and screwing working people. Now, I show you all that. Remember, this Joe Rogan, this is the same Joe Rogan that we're talking about. Look at this. Remember this, guys? Let me make sure.
This is the part I want you to pay attention to, because he's going to show you clips of Joe Rogan and showing you where Joe Rogan stands on the issues. But there's something I noticed about these clips. Listen to this.
It's on 1.25. Look at this.
I really believe if Michelle Obama runs, she wins. She's good. She's great. She's the wife of the best president that we have had in our lifetime. I've never voted right wing in my life. I consider universal basic income a really good idea. I want free college education. Take it easy. Hello, Bernie.
How are you, Joe?
Wonderful. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like Tulsi and I like Bernie. That's it.
Oh, yeah?
Everybody else can eat shit.
Look at you, fucking progressive.
Yeah. I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. I think he's looking out for the interests of the working people. And I think he wants people to have a better life and do better. And I'm all for that. And if that means I have to pay more in tax, like people think, oh, you're a socialist. I've heard people say that. Oh, you're a fucking socialist, bro. Like, first of all, he's not even a socialist. He's a democratic socialist. It's a different thing. I would like to spend more in taxes if they could fix inner city communities and take these poor neighborhoods and throw a fuckload of spend more, you fucking Republican piece of shit. 87% of scientists said that human activity is driving global warming. I'm very pro-choice. I'm very women's rights, civil rights, gay rights, trans rights. I'm even universal health care. Obviously, this protected status is driving me crazy. This thing that Trump's doing with children that were born in other countries and then brought over here as children, and then they're talking about deporting them. That drives me fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and the hard right version of that is despicable. These people that I see online, why didn't they apply for citizenship? Oh, who knows? Maybe because they're fucking 13. I don't give a fuck if they broke the law. You don't take parents and kids and separate them. You just fucking don't. You know Alonzo? No, who's that? A funny comedian. Yeah. He goes, not all Donald Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Donald Trump supporters.
He definitely awakened that side.
But the January 6th thing is important.
See, it is important, but is it the 6 months later? It should be the ruling number one conversation of journalists?
I think it's really important. And one of the reasons why I think it's important because it highlights the reasons why a guy like Donald Trump is so fucking dangerous. Is because a guy can incite a bunch of morons to do something really fucking stupid. But as far as trans people, some trans people listening to this, I got nothing but love for you. For everybody. And in fact, Eddie Izzard is one of my all-time favorite guests.
Oh, I love Izzard.
The right-wing thing is just an easy way to dismiss me because I'm not right-wing. I can't recommend your book, Race Matters, enough.
So, here's the problem. Those clips are older clips. That's the piece that's missing. Yeah, Joe Rogan said all those things. He did. But those are old clips. And that's why I've said when I saw this, I was like, has he watched Joe Rogan recently though? Because he has changed his position on some of these issues. And when he showed you that video, he doesn't tell you, I mean, I know they're old clips, but does everybody else know that? Now that video was made by, it says video by Orf. So I guess that was made by Matt Orf, I think. Matt Orf makes a lot of like those kind of videos. That's nice and everything. But where does Joe Rogan stand today? He's flip-flopped on the issues. I've seen him do it. I've seen him go back and forth. Listen to this.
So there you have it. This is the same Joe Rogan who now is, sort of tepidly endorsing Ron DeSantis for president. And in my experience with Joe, first of all, Joe's a great guy. Second of all, he is one of the most open-minded people I've ever met in the sense that if you make a good argument, he goes, man, you know what? I was wrong. That makes perfect sense. And I mean, I know because it happened with, what was it? Paid maternity leave or paid paternity leave, paid time off, something like that. He made some comment that was against it. Crystal and I responded and showed all like the charts and the graphs and hey, here's what it's like in the US versus all the other countries. We sort of get screwed. We don't have any time off, certainly no paid time off. This is about like looking out for working people, and he changed his mind on that. And this is something that he's done a number of times over the years. So look, I hope that I changed his mind with all these things I laid out for you here, because he's a very influential person. He's got the #1 podcast in the world. A lot of people listen to him and take him very seriously. And so for him to support somebody like DeSantis is definitely harmful, because DeSantis is a corrupt goon and he would govern like a corrupt goon like he's doing right now.
Kyle is having a hard time with this, I think. I think he's having a hard time believing that Joe Rogan is supporting Ron DeSantis.
So again, I hope that this helps change his mind. I mean, understand something, guys. I've given Bill Maher endless amounts of shit because he went from Bernie Sanders to Amy Klobuchar.
Bill Maher is not to be taken seriously.
So I would be a hypocrite if I didn't also give Joe Rogan shit from going from Bernie Sanders to Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, who's worse than Amy Klobuchar in terms of his, his actual policy agenda. And that's really what this comes down to. And that's what I need everybody to understand. I mean, the only way you can really go from Bernie to Ron DeSantis is if you're, making a decision about who should be president based on vibes, based on nonsense eye test stuff.
I don't think so. Let's talk about this for a second, you guys. Why would someone go from supporting Bernie Sanders to Ron DeSantis? I already gave you two of the big reasons why I think. The censorship. Number one, there's no Bernie Sanders running this time. I don't care what Bernie says. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to run again. There's no Bernie Sanders running. There's no progressive that has announced that they're running for president at this point in time, right? What are the big issues that people like Joe Rogan have been having to deal with to the point where it affects their career, where they had episodes removed, people trying to kick them off of Spotify? Censorship. So if you hear someone like Ron DeSantis say, I'm pro-speech, I'm, anti-censorship, that might appeal to you if you don't dig a little bit deeper and see all this other stuff that he was talking about in this video. That's a big part of it. What else? The pandemic. What party was pushing the lockdowns? The Democratic Party. Ron DeSantis wasn't. And Joe Rogan didn't agree with the lockdowns. So this is where, let me finish this. Hold on.
And vibes don't cut it when it comes to politics. The eye test doesn't cut it when it comes to politics. What matters is the policy agenda. What did you actually do? What's your experience? What did you actually do with power? And what do you plan on doing with power? Those are the only things that matter. And so every single one of these positions that Rogan supports in this video, Ron DeSantis is an enemy of. He's an enemy of those things. So, I mean, you just can't square that circle, dude. You cannot square that circle. So again, I hope this changes his mind. I hope that anybody who watches this, who's DeSantis curious, understands who and what he really is and what he really supports. And I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out. But DeSantis for president is a terrible idea. And I just laid out, at least 7-8 reasons why that is.
So that's that. Now, I personally, am I pro Ron DeSantis? Nope. I'm not pro anybody running the two-party system. And I made this announcement the other day. I will not support any candidate running as a Democrat or Republican. To get my support, you have to run third party or independent. That's it. You can take it or leave it. Now, I just saw a comment from, I lost your comment. See, this is the thing. Sometimes it moves so fast. I thought I started. Shoot balls. All right, let me go to the ones that were starred. Thank you, Mino. Sabby McGovern just sent email. He will be having coffee hour at Bar Senior Center July 9th. That's good to know. I'll have to check that out. Eric Gray, I live in Florida and Ron DeSantis is absolutely terrible. I know. See, the problem is right now is because Biden is so bad, any other option is appealing to people. Any other option. Thank you for the super chat, the Vinyl Dreamscape. That's an important history. Thank you. Thank you for this super chat. DeSantis will be dangerous. Luis, if Jimmy D went on Rogan podcast, he'd be like, go Jimmy Dore 24. That's a good point. Sherry, let's face it, folks, unless we get in the streets like they are doing in France, we are screwed in this country. Agreed. Stephen Miles Cook, because Joe Rogan doesn't actually have any principles, but his own personal economic growth. LOL. That's why he is all over the place. No real values. And thank you for this super chat, Buckeye fan. If Jimmy Dore made the same decision, he would not be so careful to criticize him like he's doing now with Rogan. Oh, Buckeye fan, that is a good point. Oh, that's a good point. Let's talk about that for a second. If it was Jimmy saying that he supports Ron DeSantis for president, would he have been criticized the same way, or would the criticism have been heavier? And Jimmy probably would have gotten it from all different angles. A lot of independent media probably would have covered that story and went after Jimmy Dore. That's a good point. Well, they're friends, you know. A lot of times people tend to be, you know, easier. They go easier on their friends. So that's something to think about. Either way, you know, whoever Joe Rogan support, that's really up to him. Hey, Luis. I mean, it's really up to him. But I would say, Bastion, it's not a good look for Sabby to talk about Rogan when she doesn't watch the show at all. I have seen the show. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's that. Now, I think I have to go to Rockfin really quick for a comment. I think I do. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger Meadows. Yes, Abby, why can't you be as mean as Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, Grand Poobah, Maxwell, Heavy D, and Kanye? After our ancestors were freed from bondage, serious gun regulation laws were enacted to make sure we don't benefit from gun rights. Philando Castile's Second Amendment rights were violated, and no prop Second Amendment rights groups came out to our defense. So these Second Amendment groups can save it about protecting my rights. Thank you for this tip, Dave. Older Black people in Chicago, I was very angry what happened with the 2020 primary. There. Perez, completely criminal. Numerous laws endangering people. Think that Halper and others are bringing a... I'm sorry, I skipped something. Think that Halper and others are bringing a lawsuit against Perez and have receipts. I watched reporting live from Chicago primary, Halper and others. That's interesting. Thanks for the tip, Zach. And he passed anti-protest laws. Was a Guantanamo Bay guard probably DIA and or his blackmail from his guard days, yet Democrats are way worse. This is not changing from being a lefty. It's recognizing the Dems are brought to you by Pfizer, control freak cult members, or won't look at Pfizer's 75-year hidden data. Dems even scared off people from Medicare for All. Now have torture guy running Ministry of Truth. Thank you for this tip as well, Zach. LOL, Kyle saying DeSantis is bad is just laughable. How about he finds any kind of option who is not a psychopath? It's not vibes. It is the insane Dems. Pfizer, Fauci, lockdowns, Ministry of Truth, Nazi funding warmongers, completely delusional with science, cult behavior equals those are Dems. I'm in Florida and went to other states where the grocery store was scary. Florida, things were normal. That matters. That's interesting, Zach. It's nice to hear from people who are in Florida. So thank you from that. Thank you for this tip, Roger. Rogan, before Spotify deal, net worth was around 5 million. Since Spotify deal, his net worth is around 120 million. Like I said, Sabby, don't worry about his listeners might mindlessly go along with what Rogan is saying. Trust the voters. Let's get those ballot initiatives before them and force them to vote on the issues. What if Black parents complained, I feel uncomfortable with my child learning founding fathers who were slaveholders? Wow. Thank you guys for all of those. All right, we're at the portion where I am going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to head into the call-in segment. Now, the call-in tonight is about R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell sentencing. So I definitely want to hear from you guys. I'm putting the link to the call-in in the chat, and I'll go ahead and I'll pin it to the top of the chat as well. So this is the part where Sabby takes a little breaky, and Eric comes in.
Sabby, little breaky time. All right, let me fix up this screen here. Let's do that. All right, how's excuse me. All right, how's everybody doing on this Friday night? Yeah, so this will be getting over to the call-in in a little bit. Let me just put this banner up just to say call-in show starting soon. Yeah, there was I noticed there were a couple of comments at the end here about whether or not Jimmy, or what would happen if Jimmy Dore backed Ron DeSantis, and how the lefty media would back down. But of course, Jimmy Dore would never back DeSantis, because Jimmy Dore has a lot more of a political knowledge than Rogan does. And I hope it's sometime soon. And hi Go Start. And I hope sometime soon Rogan has Jimmy Dore back on, because I think Jimmy Dore would kind of set him straight on those things. Let's see what else we got. Anything else? Oh, Robert Nichols says, "You sure he backed Tulsi?" Yeah, the Tulsi thing was interesting. She was kind of excuse me. She was kind of all over the place. All right, let's see here. I wanted to talk about an article by. Actually, first, let's see. I think we got another Roger chat here. All right. Yeah, we had one more coming here from Roger Meadows. Thanks for that. Rogan, have Jesse V on your show. He might change your mind. All right, if Joe Rogan is listening, Roger Meadows says have Jesse V on. Roger also brought up this point of how Joe Rogan's net income, or his net worth has gone up quite a bit. You know, from this 5 million to this 120 million, and that's that's an interesting. It's an interesting take, because that does have a real impact. I mean, Joe Rogan's into a very different income group now, and I feel like once you hit that 100 million mark, you've entered the top 0.1 percenters, and I think that's a very different strata to be in. And thanks Salgato for the comment on the shirt. Let's see here. All right, so but I actually wanted to see if I can work my little things here. I can bring up this article. Yes, here we go. From the awesome Caitlin Johnstone. This is her latest article, and of course I recommend everyone read Caitlin Johnstone. She's awesome. And if anyone's just tuning in, Sabby will be back shortly, and then we'll jump over to the call-in. Oh, by the way, hit the like if you haven't hit the like yet. We'll do our CJ impression. Let's see if we can get those likes up to 400. We got 400 watching. All right, yeah, so this is about Ukraine. I thought this was funny initially. He always has a picture in the beginning, but this guy, well, first is a creepy-ass picture of all these soldiers in front of their laptops. But this soldier here in the front looks kind of like Matt Taibbi, actually, but I don't think Matt would appreciate that. All right. But yeah, she said there's a lot going on in America, and the people are very stressed out and frightened. But don't worry, there's nothing the U.S. government won't do to make sure more high mobility artillery rocket systems get to Ukraine. Rest assured, Americans, no matter how dark things may seem right now, no matter how insecure and uncertain you may feel, you can sleep soundly knowing your government is moving mountains around the clock to make sure the Ukraine war becomes a strategic quagmire for Moscow. All right, I was just reading from the old Caitlin Johnstone.
All right. Caitlin's awesome.
You got that. We had this super chat come in late from AJF Milan. I actually want Hillary to run just to see her and her Clintonites fail in flames. Again, please, and forgive AJF's selfishness.
All right. Okay, guys, I am moving over to call in. The link is pinned at the top of the chat, so you can click on that. Remember, call in. You don't have to download the app anymore now. You can actually listen to this on your computer just by clicking on the link. But tonight's segment is episode 20. R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell are sentenced. R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell have finally been sentenced after years of abuse. Does this bring justice to the victims? What are your thoughts? I'm going over there in just a sec. It starts at 9:45. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. Quick update. I am actually taking Monday off, so I won't be here Monday night. I'm going to spend time with my hubs and my sister because that is 4th of July. So I won't be here Monday. I'll be back Sunday, though. Sunday night, I actually have my women's panel. So my special stream that I do once a month. We're going to be talking about inflation, the gas prices, and how it's actually affecting us on a personal level. So we have a lot to say about that. Tune in Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then after that, I will be back on Tuesday. Guys, have a great weekend. Spend some time with the fams and the friends and have fun. Have fun. You know how we do this, guys. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.